Hey, let's see if I can make people angry with this one. No, no, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Don't want to start that way. Um, you know, I want to talk about kind of outrage and having a sense of humor about it, or being legitimately concerned, or all these different factors that often kind of swirl around comics. And it's a tough conversation because everyone's mileage may vary or will vary based on what you're going to be upset about and what you're not going to be upset about. So, how do you even navigate in that world? We're not all playing on the same playing field with what we're upset about or what we care about. So, does any one piece of advice work for everyone? Probably not. But let's take a look at kind of the big topics that we've been upset about, and what do we learn? What do we know, and how are we supposed to deal with this stuff? Hey everybody, this is Perch. There's a really good conversation. I did a video. I do a lot of videos. Right? What can I say? I did a video about writing and reading superheroes with super thin skin. And I came to the comment section kind of late. I've got a filter that shows me the unread, unresponded to comments. And so I forget sometimes that that's on. So I click it and I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of conversation here I didn't see. So then I go back and I look at it. And it's often, it's often pretty good. There's definitely some garbage fire stuff that goes on in the comments. But generally speaking, there's some really good comments there. And some people were kind of analyzing some of the things I said in that video, and I think the analysis was correct. The challenge with looking kind of at any situation is that you can give kind of simple advice, which I have in the past, like, hey, you should lighten up, or hey, maybe you shouldn't let this bother you as much as it does. And that advice can be pretty flippant to people, especially if you're really worked up about it, if you really have maybe some background things or some reasons why this is bothering you. That advice is, like I said, it's either flippant and annoying, or it just kind of sucks as advice. I mean, on the surface, sure. I mean, everyone should try and go through life and engage without letting kind of the weight of the world bog us down. But it's not easy to do that, and you can't just wave a magic wand and not worry about something. Some things people get worried about. And I think I see a lot of the argument between kind of the two groups of fans, and sometimes the creators and the fans and whatever, and people get really wound up about this stuff. And there's often a like, why are you worked up about this? Why are you bothered by this? And I see things from time to time that annoy me. Like Ron Mars a couple days ago was retweeting the Newsarama article that the comic sales are up, and it's like, and he's doing but the mean people on YouTube said the comic industry was dying, and it's like, that's not helpful. It's not productive. If you are one of the people who doesn't like the mean people on YouTube who say the comic industry is dying, and a lot of the people who say that the comic industry is dying hate me because I'm the person who comes out with videos and go, well, here's where it's actually in trouble, and here's where it's not. And I've had a lot of big names come back and be like, oh, he overanalyzes it. He's just, and to see where this argument just spirals into nonsense forever. But I see stuff like Ron Mars's tweet, and I'm like, this isn't useful. This isn't helping. This isn't making any kind of case. And in many cases, it makes him just look foolish, because if you actually read the article, it talks about how the industries in comics that are growing and actually are being very healthy and well is not the one he's working for. I mean, I think that's an important distinction. I've been told by people that's not, that's, you're getting too detailed. But no, I think that's a pretty key one that you need to call out and recognize. But to me, it's unproductive when I think people tell each other what they should be mad about or what they should not be mad about. And on any given day, there's something that it may bother you. And it's really none of my business. It's none of anyone else's business why it's bothering you. How you got there, who knows? I use this analogy from time to time because I think it's a good one. If you picture kind of your outrage, your emotion as an empty glass, and if people just keep dumping problems at you, that glass fills up, fills up, fills up, and eventually it just starts to overspill with water. And that's when you get mad, you lose your temper, you go on a rampage, whatever it happens to be. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for you. I mean, forget everybody else for a moment. It's just not good for anybody to lose control of themselves. But in comics and in many things, for many people, that glass is not empty. It doesn't start empty. When they wake up in the morning, it's already half filled with problems. This is, a lot of different words for this. You can call it baggage. It's, maybe you got wound up because you watched some videos, you got wound up. Maybe you're a creator and you wake up to a zillion kind of notifications of people crapping on you or whatever it happens to be. Maybe you love a particular comic book. You love Iron Man and you're really pissed at what they're doing to that character. And so when you wake up in the morning, you still have that baggage. That glass is already half full of problems. And so it takes very little to tip you over again. And I think saying, well, you're stupid for letting those problems bother you that's useless. That doesn't help. That doesn't do anything for anyone. And it's just useless advice. So I think for me, when I try and talk about these topics, and we look at some of the outrage topics, like Daniel Cherry III comes in, he's a new GM at DC. And immediately, you go to his LinkedIn profile. It's like, okay, there's some Black Lives Matter stuff there. And you go to his Twitter account and he's talking about some of these things. And for a lot of people, that's a huge warning sign because their glass is already half filled with a lot of the nonsense around those things. And so they're leery, they're skeptical. And they'll say things like, oh, it looks like DC is going full woke now or whatever else. They're saying that for a reason. They didn't just wake up in the morning and say, I think I'll just crap on this guy for no apparent reason. They're saying it because their history, what's brought them there, has got them to that point. And then there are other people who don't see it that way, who do not have that baggage, who are like, I don't understand why everybody's going nuts about some brand new person we don't know. Like that seems, you seem irrational. Well, both sides are legitimate here. Both sides have a point. The people who are kind of assessing history and looking at it, they have a point to be concerned. The people who haven't had those experiences, they have a right to be confused why people are mad. At the end of the day, all is said and done, the only thing that's really going to count in the end is what he does. If Daniel Cherry III comes in and he produces unreadable, crappy comics, then he's going to be a failure. If he comes in and he produces helps produce great comics, we get a resurgence of amazing stories and things we want to buy and read, then we're going to call him a success. It actually becomes pretty binary. Well, I guess there's a third option. The third option is nothing really changes. Company doesn't get any worse or any better, just kind of trundles along. And not to be Mr. Pessimistic, but honestly, that's probably the most likely result. The idea that one person can impact a company, pro or con, is pretty small. I know a lot of people will bring up names like Sana Amanat or Jim Shooter or others that, as individuals, they have a profound impact to the company. And it can happen. It's just not, think about it in terms of odds. It's not very likely. More likely than not, things move at a sluggish group-like pace, and it slowly moves in one direction or another. My point when I originally reported on the Daniel Cherry III bit is that there wasn't enough data to really make a call either way. And I did say that people who are really concerned about him are jumping the gun a little bit. But to be clear, it's their right to do so. It's their right to be concerned. You can read the tea leaves, you can make your own predictions, and you can be concerned. I do think that, and this is just my style, you can take it, leave it. For some people, they like it. Other people, they're annoyed by it. And I am who I am, so that's just how I'm going to be, is I like to see evidence of things before I go all in on anger or outrage or gleeful happiness. I like to see proof. So when Daniel Cherry III was announced, I read the press release, I looked at his LinkedIn profile, I've made comments on all that effect. I remember people were really pissed at me for saying that I think it was a bad idea for him to have any kind of big social thing in your banner, in your LinkedIn profile. Like, people were like, he has the right to do that. And you're right. Of course he has the right to do that. It's just my opinion. But at the same time, I look at his history. I look at what he did at Activision. I looked at the various articles he's written and the interviews. I went on YouTube and watched several speeches that he's done. I talked to some people who have worked with him in the past. And it's, the picture that they portray is not somebody who's going to go, full, quote unquote, full woke and drive a company into the ground chasing social things. He was described much more as a shark, as somebody who pursued business pretty aggressively, played some pretty hard knuckle, interactions with his marketing. And so that presents kind of a couple different pictures. So I did the videos about him. I said, here are the pictures I'm seeing. Here's what I'm seeing. And I think if you are, already angry about this, you're jumping the gun. That's my opinion. I'm not telling you again how to feel, because you're going to have a lot of experiences leading up to this. But I think, there's enough mixed data here that we don't know exactly how it's going to go. If, for example, Tom Brevoort was picked to go and be part of DC, I think we have way more evidence and data to go on about what a Tom Brevoort, leadership position in DC would look like. If a Heather Antos was hired at DC in that position, we know a lot about her. We know what she does in comics, so we can make some judgments about that, and we can predict kind of what's going to happen. Yes, anybody can always change, but at least we know more. Daniel Cherry is too much of an unknown to a lot of extent. And yes, I did this before I started filming this video. I'm like, let's see if we've learned anything else. Let's go look at the articles that have happened over the last 30 days. Let's go look at the tweets. And you know what I learned? Nothing. Pretty much nothing. There's close to no information out there, which to me, again, as me assessing what's going on, it just lends more, I guess, credence or credibility or weight to that third result, the result where nothing much happens. Personally, I am hoping that Daniel Cherry shows up, figures out how to market the DC better, because I think it's abysmal. I hope he helps straighten out the line. I hope he gets a proper global and digital distribution plan. And I hope DC Comics grows and succeeds. That's my hope. Don't confuse my hope with what I think is going to happen or what I'm telling you is going to happen. That's just what I hope. I hope Marvel produces the most amazing things. I hope the next Dan Slott comic I read is incredible. I hope all these things. Hope should be optimistic. Will those things happen? Again, that goes to the, playing the odds and kind of getting the data and assessing for yourself. And then you make your own choices. But at any rate, I wanted to respond to this because, like I said, there was this thread that went on. I think that these topics I do are always kind of quick. They're stream of consciousness in some cases. Is that good? I don't know. I'm not trying. These videos are not all TED Talks. I mean, they're just me talking, and kind of in many cases you're hearing my thoughts. And that's either interesting or not interesting, and you either agree or disagree. And I'm hoping that lots of people disagree, to be honest. I see some of the bigger channels, and I see some of the people who are just all in. Like I believe everything this YouTuber says, and that frightens me. I never want to be that person. I never want people to say that about me. I have maybe this is just my own weird, crazy personality, but I don't want that kind of following. I just don't. I feel like I put it this way. Maybe it's selfish. I learn a lot through disagreement. I learn a lot when people bring me something that is new to me. So when people do that, I get stronger. And so selfishly, I like getting stronger. And so that's what I'm after. Anyway, thanks to all the people who comment, respond, and everything else. But that maybe explains a little bit more my thought process and kind of how I view things. And like with all things, with Daniel Cherry, with all the different outrage topics we have, we'll see where it all goes. Anyway, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Hopefully this helped, or it's a bunch of bullshit. You can say that too. Just let me know. Anyway, like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, but most importantly, thanks for listening.